What does a 7-foot Hall of Famer do when the spotlight finally dims? Patrick Ewing, the man who dominated Madison Square Garden for 15 years, vanished into rural Maryland and built something nobody was expecting. A sprawling farmhouse tucked behind acres of pasture land where horses graze and silence replaces the roar of 20,000 fans. But what truly makes this place otherworldly? And how did Patrick end up here? Let's pull back the curtain. The secret farmhouse. There's a long, winding driveway somewhere in rural Maryland that cuts through fields, past old oak trees, and eventually opens up to a scene most people would never associate with Patrick Ewing. No skyscrapers, no city noise, no paparazzi camping outside hoping for a photo. Just mist rolling over acres of pristine countryside, horses grazing peacefully, and a farmhouse that looks like it belongs in a Southern Living spread rather than an NBA Legends portfolio. This is where Patrick Ewing lives now. And if you're picturing some modest retirement cottage, let me stop you right there, because what he built is legitimately stunning. The property sprawls across serious acreage in rural Maryland, exuding a warmth that somehow feels both grand and grounded at the same time. For a man who spent decades under the blinding lights of Madison Square Garden, where every move was scrutinized and every shot either celebrated or criticized by the toughest sports fans on earth, this estate offers exactly what he was searching for: peace. But let's be real, this isn't just peace. This is luxury wrapped in tranquility, and the details matter. The farm was designed with equestrian life at its heart, which tells you immediately that Ewing's not playing around. There's a fully equipped barn with 8 individual stables, a massive hayloft, and a dedicated tack and utilities shed complete with a heated tack room, sink, and even a 2-car garage attached. An automatic water system runs throughout the entire barn area, meaning care for horses and livestock happens effortlessly without constant manual labor. Little Deer Creek flows gently through the property, its waters adding this soft, almost meditative soundtrack to the entire estate. Picture mornings where the only sounds are birds, flowing water, and maybe the occasional whinny from the stables. That's the vibe. And then there's the house itself, a breathtaking 6-bedroom, 5.5-bath farmhouse that somehow blends rustic heritage with modern refinement so seamlessly you'd think an architect spent years perfecting the balance. From the outside, the stone facade and traditional shutters recall 18th century Maryland architecture, the kind of look that nods to history without feeling like a museum. But step inside, and you're hit with soaring vaulted ceilings, wide plank wood floors that carry warmth into every corner, and oversized windows flooding the space with natural light. The first-floor master suite, newly renovated, offers a cozy sanctuary with a modern ensuite bath that feels more like a private spa than a standard bathroom. Nearby, the kitchen merges old-world craftsmanship with contemporary design. Stone countertops, custom cabinetry, sleek fixtures, all balanced by a farmhouse warmth that makes the space feel timeless rather than trendy. The living and dining areas radiate charm in ways you don't see in cookie-cutter luxury homes. The original dining room dates back to the 1700s and still showcases a preserved brick fireplace, a genuine piece of Maryland's colonial past that now serves as the centerpiece of Ewing's quiet domestic life. Throughout the home, modern upgrades have been done with care, preserving the property's character while ensuring all the conveniences of 21st century living. The open-concept living room and kitchen feature panoramic views of surrounding fields and grazing horses, offering daily reminders of the beauty found in simplicity. Large windows frame the landscape like living paintings that change with the seasons. One of the estate's most enchanting features is the spring house, a small, separate retreat surrounded by lush greenery. Ewing reportedly uses it as a reading nook and quiet space for reflection, though it could easily function as a guest suite or creative studio. Imagine having a dedicated spot on your property just for thinking, reading, or escaping into solitude whenever the world gets too loud. Around the main home, you'll find gently rolling fields, ponds shimmering under sunlight, and winding trails perfect for walks, horseback riding, or those rare moments when you just want to exist without an agenda. What makes this farmhouse truly special isn't just its luxury, it's the energy it carries. Peaceful but powerful. It reflects Ewing's personal evolution from fierce NBA competitor to a man who values space, silence, and connection to the land. Here, He's no longer the Knicks franchise player or Coach Ewing. He's simply Patrick, a man who built a life defined not by fame, but by contentment. But to understand how Patrick Ewing ended up here, living like a country gentleman in rural Maryland instead of holding court in Manhattan penthouses, you've got to rewind to where this whole journey started. Because the path from Kingston, Jamaica to NBA legend to Maryland farmhouse owner is anything but predictable. From Jamaica to Georgetown, rise of Patrick Ewing. Patrick Aloysius Ewing was born August 5, 1962 in Kingston, Jamaica, and his early life reads like the classic immigrant success story, except with more height and athleticism than most. His father, Carl, worked as a mechanic. His mother, Dorothy, devoted her life to raising 7 children in a modest household where hard work wasn't optional. It was survival. As the 5th child, young Patrick grew up in a lively, tight-knit family where sports meant freedom and joy. But basketball wasn't part of his Jamaican childhood. Cricket and soccer ruled the streets. Everything changed in 1975 when 12-year-old Patrick and his family migrated to Cambridge, Massachusetts, searching for better opportunities. The adjustment was brutal. Cold winters, a new accent that made him a target for teasing, an entirely foreign culture. The kind of culture shock that breaks some kids but forges others. Basketball entered his life almost by accident, simply because he was already tall and American kids kept asking if he played. At Cambridge Ringe and Latin School, standing head and shoulders above his peers, Ewing caught the attention of coach Mike Jarvis, who saw raw potential that just needed refinement. By his senior year, the 7-foot phenom had become one of the most sought-after high school players in the nation, fielding scholarship offers from nearly every major program. He chose Georgetown University, and that decision would define his destiny. Under legendary coach John Thompson, one of the few black head coaches in college basketball at the time, Ewing became the face of 1980s college hoops. His defense, intensity, and leadership helped Georgetown reach the NCAA tournament every single year during his college career. The 1983-84 season was his crowning achievement. Ewing led the Hoyas to their first national championship, defeating Houston's Phi Slama Jama squad, led by Hakeem Olajuwon in one of the most iconic title games ever played. By the time he graduated, Patrick Ewing had cemented his status as one of the greatest college players of all time, and the NBA was waiting. In 1985, the New York Knicks won the draft lottery and made Ewing the first overall pick, signing him to a record-breaking 10-year, $32 million contract, the richest rookie deal in sports history at the time. $32 million might sound quaint now, but in 1985, that was generational wealth. And Ewing didn't disappoint. Throughout the late 80s and 90s, he became the heart and soul of New York basketball. Known for his trademark turnaround jumper, fierce shot blocking, and relentless leadership, Ewing carried the Knicks through playoff runs that defined an era. His performances during the 1994 NBA Finals, where the Knicks came agonizingly close to a championship before falling to Hakeem's Rockets, remain etched in basketball history. But Ewing's career wasn't without hardship. A devastating wrist injury in 1997 sidelined him for most of that season, raising questions about whether he'd ever return to form. But his determination never wavered. He came back stronger, adding more memorable moments to his legacy, including playing his 1,000th NBA game in a Knicks uniform. After 15 unforgettable seasons in New York, during which he became the franchise's all-time leading scorer, he played brief stints with the Seattle Supersonics and Orlando Magic before retiring in 2002. Post-retirement, Ewing shifted seamlessly into coaching. He served as an assistant with the Washington Wizards, Houston Rockets, Orlando Magic, and Charlotte Hornets, mentoring future stars and bringing his Hall of Fame mindset to the sidelines. In 2017, he came full circle, returning to Georgetown as head coach. Though his tenure had ups and downs, his leadership culminated in a stunning 2021 Big East tournament victory that reminded the basketball world Patrick Ewing's competitive fire still burned bright. And after decades in the public eye, decades of being scrutinized, celebrated, criticized, and immortalized, the Hall of Famer finally settled into a quieter rhythm on that beautiful Maryland farmhouse, where his heart now rests far from the roar of NBA arenas. But the Maryland farmhouse isn't the only property story in Ewing's portfolio. Before the countryside called to him, there was a different kind of luxury, one with a New Jersey zip code and a basketball court in the basement. The Cresskill Mansion, when success had a zip code. In 2007, Patrick Ewing decided to bring his New York success across the river to New Jersey luxury, purchasing a custom-built mansion in Cresskill for over $6.3 million. Tucked away in an exclusive neighborhood, the home became a physical symbol of everything he'd worked for: precision, power, and presence. The 10,524-square-foot brick estate opens into a grand foyer where a sweeping curved staircase immediately sets the tone. Elegant, yet commanding. You're not just entering a house, you're entering a statement. The two-story family room is pure architectural drama. Floor-to-ceiling windows pour natural light across the space, a double-sided fireplace connects the room visually and functionally, and an interior balcony overlooks the main level below, creating this sense of openness and grandeur that makes you feel like you're standing in something special. Just steps away lies the chef's kitchen, a dream space for both cooking and conversation. Outfitted with high-end stainless steel appliances, a wide center island with bar seating, and a cozy breakfast nook with its own fireplace. It's the kind of kitchen that feels luxurious but lived in, designed for family dinners and late-night snacks after workouts. The formal dining area and private office round out the main floor, the latter displaying Ewing's treasured sports memorabilia, trophies, framed photos, game-worn jerseys, reminders of a life built through sweat and strategy. Upstairs, the master suite continues the story of quiet grandeur. With its own fireplace and a spa-like bathroom featuring dual vanities, a soaking tub, and a massive walk-in shower, the suite feels like a retreat from the world, a place for reflection rather than show. The remaining 4 bedrooms, each with ensuite bathrooms, make the mansion perfectly suited for family, friends, or visiting teammates. The lower level transforms from elegance to entertainment. It features a sleek bar, a recreation and media room, and a full gym, proof that Ewing's discipline off the court remained as sharp as ever. A guest bedroom with its own bath ensures comfort for overnight visitors. And here's the kicker. Large doors open directly to a private indoor basketball court. Because no matter how high he climbed, no matter how much wealth he accumulated, basketball would always be at the center of his life. Outside, the backyard oasis offers a lagoon-shaped pool and spa surrounded by lush landscaping, an idyllic backdrop for summer barbecues or quiet reflection. With its 4-car garage and gated privacy, this home perfectly encapsulated Ewing's balance between celebrity status and personal peace. But eventually, even this wasn't enough. The pull towards something quieter, more grounded, more connected to the earth, that's what led him to Maryland. And that transition from New Jersey mansion to Maryland farmhouse tells you everything about how Ewing evolved from NBA warrior to a man seeking stillness. But before we get too lost in real estate, let's talk about the money that made all of this possible. Because Ewing's wealth story is more impressive than most people realize. The wealth machine, from contracts to kicks. With an estimated net worth hovering around $75 million to $85 million, Patrick Ewing transformed his talent on the hardwood into a lifelong financial legacy that's still generating income decades after his last NBA game. Let's break down the actual numbers because, honestly, they're insane. Over his 17-year NBA career, Ewing earned approximately $125 million in player salaries, a monumental figure for his era. When adjusted for inflation, that climbs to nearly $184 million in today's dollars. He spent 15 seasons with the New York Knicks, where his dominance and leadership made him the franchise cornerstone, then finished with short stints in Seattle and Orlando. Some of his most notable contracts paint a picture of sustained earning power. 1990, signed a 6-year, $33 million deal with the Knicks, record-setting at the time and a clear statement that New York valued him as a generational talent. 1996-97 season, earned $18.7 million, one of the top salaries in the entire league, reflecting his status as an elite player even as younger stars entered the NBA. 1997-98 season, his peak salary year at $20.5 million, surpassing even Michael Jordan's salary in certain years due to contract restructuring. 2000, inked a 4-year, $55 million contract with the Seattle Supersonics, proving his value even as his career entered its twilight phase. Final breakdown: $33.5 million combined in his last Knicks seasons, $14 million for a single year in Seattle, and $3 million in his final playing year with Orlando. When you stack that up, you're looking at a guy who earned elite money across nearly 2 decades, not through one massive contract, but through sustained excellence and smart negotiation. After retirement, Ewing stayed true to basketball, channeling his competitive spirit into coaching. He worked as an NBA assistant coach from 2002 to 2017, earning an estimated $800,000 annually across stints with the Wizards, Rockets, Magic, and Hornets. That's roughly $12 million over 15 years. Not life-changing money by NBA standards, but solid, consistent income doing what he loved. In 2017, when he took the Georgetown head coaching job, his annual salary jumped to around $4 million, adding roughly $24 million to his lifetime earnings before stepping down in 2023. But here's where Ewing's wealth story gets really interesting: the sneaker business. His Adidas partnership in 1985 helped launch the Rivalry sneaker line, which became a cultural phenomenon and a direct competitor to Nike's Air Jordan. By 1990, the Rivalry line had generated over $100 million in sales, cementing Ewing as a brand icon beyond just basketball. Then, in 1989, Ewing made a move that set him apart from his peers. He founded Ewing Athletics, his very own sneaker label. This was bold. Most players were content taking endorsement checks. Ewing wanted ownership. The brand thrived in the late 80s and early 90s, fell dormant for years, then made a comeback in 2012, finding new life among sneaker collectors and nostalgic fans. While exact revenue figures remain private, experts estimate Ewing Athletics has earned him tens of millions over the years through sales, licensing deals, and collaborations. That's passive income that keeps flowing, whether he's coaching, farming, or just enjoying life in Maryland. Ewing also stepped into pop culture with memorable appearances in Space Jam, 1996, and The Exorcist III, plus sitcom roles in Spin City, Mad About You, and Webster. These weren't massive paychecks, but they boosted his public profile and added several $100,000 to his portfolio, a lighthearted bonus to his basketball empire. So when you add it all up, NBA salaries, coaching income, sneaker business, endorsements, media appearances, you're looking at a man who built sustainable wealth across multiple decades and multiple income streams. That's not luck. That's strategy. And what makes Ewing's story even more remarkable is how he's chosen to share that success, quietly, consistently, and with genuine heart. The quiet generosity, giving back without the headlines. Long after his final game, Patrick Ewing has continued shaping lives through quiet, consistent acts of generosity, proving his heart is as big as his 7-foot frame. Ewing never forgot where he came from, the humble beginnings in Jamaica that shaped his drive and discipline. Through partnerships with Air Jamaica and Kojo, Children of Jamaica Outreach, he's donated thousands of pairs of sneakers and sports equipment to organizations like Alpha Boys Home and City of Refuge, both institutions providing shelter, education, and care for children in need. For many of those kids, a pair of Ewing sneakers isn't just a gift. It's a symbol of possibility, proof that someone who started where they started made it all the way to the top. In 2000, Ewing demonstrated one of the most selfless gestures imaginable. He offered to donate a kidney to his close friend and former NBA rival Alonzo Mourning, who was battling severe kidney disease. Though the surgery ultimately wasn't necessary because Mourning received a transplant from a family member, the offer itself stunned the sports world. Think about that for a second. These weren't just teammates or casual acquaintances. They were competitors who'd battled each other in the paint for years. But when it mattered, Ewing didn't hesitate. That's brotherhood. That's loyalty. That's the kind of character you can't teach or fake. Ewing's charitable work extends through multiple organizations he's founded and supported. The Patrick Ewing Foundation focuses on education, healthcare access, and youth empowerment, three pillars he believes can break cycles of poverty. The foundation has contributed to underfunded schools, community health initiatives, and scholarship programs designed to give kids opportunities they wouldn't otherwise have. His philanthropy isn't about grand headlines or flashy charity galas. It's about using his success to lift others up the same way he once lifted an entire franchise and a generation of fans who needed something to believe in. And behind all the victories, all the accolades, all the wealth, there's still just a man who values peace, privacy, and family above everything else. The man behind the legend. Patrick Ewing was married to Rita Williams from 1990 to 1998, and together they share a son, Patrick Ewing Jr., who followed in his father's footsteps, briefly playing in the NBA before transitioning into coaching. Beyond that, Ewing has two other children from different relationships. Despite his fame, he's always emphasized being a present, supportive father, keeping his personal life separate from the spotlight in ways most celebrities never manage. While his career was largely defined by discipline and professionalism, Ewing faced a few moments of controversy. In 2001, his name surfaced during the Gold Club trial, a federal case involving an Atlanta strip club accused of illegal activities. Ewing testified honestly that he'd visited the club multiple times and received sexual favors, but maintained no money was exchanged and he was unaware of any criminal conduct. His testimony lasted under 30 minutes, and he was never charged with wrongdoing. The headlines were sensational for about a week, but the incident faded as quickly as it appeared, unable to overshadow decades of integrity and hard work that defined his public image. Yet perhaps the most revealing glimpse into his character came not from courtrooms or controversies, but from that kidney donation offer to Alonzo Mourning. The willingness to sacrifice for a competitor showed a quiet loyalty that transcends basketball, a gesture that said more than any stat line ever could. Today, Patrick Ewing enjoys a calmer pace of life. He values privacy, simple pleasures, and mentoring young athletes, teaching them that greatness isn't only about fame, it's about humility, perseverance, and character. His daily routine probably looks nothing like what most people imagine. Mornings on the Maryland farmhouse might start with coffee on the porch, checking on the horses, maybe reading or catching up on basketball news. Afternoons could involve working out in a home gym, tending to property maintenance, or just walking the trails that wind through his acreage. When he does travel, it's selective. Family visits, occasional basketball events, maybe a speaking engagement at Georgetown. But the days of constant movement, packed schedules, and living under a microscope are over. He built a life where silence is the luxury, where space means freedom, and where contentment matters more than headlines. The Maryland farmhouse with its 18th century dining room fireplace and spring house reading nook. The New Jersey mansion with its indoor basketball court. The sneaker empire that still generates income. The coaching legacy at Georgetown. The quiet charity work that changes lives without press releases. All of it adds up to a story about transformation, from a Jamaican kid adjusting to cold Massachusetts winters, to a college basketball legend, to an NBA icon who carried New York on his shoulders for 15 years, to a man who finally found peace on a farm where horses graze and creeks flow and nobody cares about box scores. Patrick Ewing didn't just build wealth. He built a life that reflects exactly who he is when the world stops watching. And honestly, for a guy who spent decades being defined by what he did on a basketball court, the fact that his greatest achievement might be finding contentment in rural Maryland feels exactly right. And that's a wrap on Patrick Ewing's insane Maryland mansion and his overall wealth mechanics. Which part of his story fascinated you the most? Let us know in the comments. And for more such interesting peeks into how Black wealth is prospering across the globe, take a look at Black Status.